All right, this is section 5.5. We're going to factor using multiple methods. Um, in the lesson, we had like a little flow chart that told us the steps to do these. The first step being GCF, and then the next step, depending on how many terms you have, you either have difference of squares, factoring by grouping, or standard trinomial, or square root Columbian trinomial. So that's the process we're going to use here to factor using multiple steps. The first thing we always look for is a GCF. There is a GCF here. Both of these terms are divisible by 7. When I divide them both by 7, I have x squared minus 4. The next step depends on how many terms you have, and when you have two terms like this, you always look for the difference of squares. Difference meaning subtract, perfect squares. So this is the difference of squares. GCF is still there. The difference of squares. X times x gives you x squared. 2 times 2 gives you the 4. 1 plus, 1 minus. And there we have it. Number 2. Always looking for GCF first. So all of these terms are divisible by 2, and they all have an x in common. So the GCF is 2x. Then we divide the 2x off to find out what's left. X squared minus 8x plus 12. And here we have a standard trinomial. So GCF is still there. Factoring the standard trinomial gives us x times x. The first sign comes down. Multiply the two signs to get the negative. Negative times positive makes negative. Same signs mean we're adding in the middle. Two numbers that multiply to make 12, but add to make 8 are 6 and 2. And we're done. On number 3, this looks a little weird. And we are still going to look for a GCF first. However, you have to remember that this is two terms here. This is x squared times a plus b. This is negative 25 times a plus b. The GCF is a plus b. It's okay for the GCF to be a binomial. If you see it being multiplied in both terms like this, we will bring that a plus b to the front and take it out of each term. And that leaves us with x squared minus 25 in this second binomial. And now we look here and we see this binomial is the difference of squares. This one is prime, so this doesn't factor any further. We're still going to have it out here, a plus b. But this factors to be the difference of squares. So x times x, 5 times 5, and the signs are 1 plus, 1 minus. And then we're done. On number 4, always look for a GCF first. Looking across here, and I don't see anything that's common for all 4 terms. So that's the next thing we would consider, is the fact that it has 4 terms means we're going to cut it in half and we're going to factor by grouping. So what is the GCF for these 2 terms? That would be 4x squared. When we divide these both by 4x squared, we have x plus 3 left. This negative sign coming down in the middle. The common factor here, the GCF of these 2 terms, is 9. It's actually negative 9 because we brought that negative sign down. So when you divide them both by negative 9, you'll have a positive x plus 3. And this now, positive x plus 3, is the common factor similar to the last question we did. So we'll bring that to the front, and it gets crossed out of both of these terms, and we have 4x squared minus 9 left. And now you have to consider, are either of these binomials the difference of squares? This first one is not, so he's going to stay. But this second one is the difference of squares, so we need to factor that down again. The square root of 4x squared is 2x times 2x. The square root of 9 is 3 times 3, 1 plus, 1 minus, and you're done. Okay, Number 5. Always looking for GCF first, but when I look across this, I see these are not in the right order. They should be in descending order. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Highest exponent down to lowest exponent. And then look for GCF, which in this case is x. So when I divide these all by x, I have 6x squared minus 5x minus 6. And then depending on how many terms you have, what you do next. There are 3 terms here. This is a trinomial, but because of this 6, it's not a standard trinomial. We're going to have to use the square root method or the AC method if you learned that. Your GCF is just hanging out. The square root method, which is what I'm going to do here, tells you to multiply the front and the back both by 6. So we have 36x squared minus 5x minus 36. And then square root the first term. That gives you 6x times 6x. Bring the first sign down. Multiply the 2 signs. So negative times negative makes positive. So we're subtracting because we have different signs. So factors of 36 that subtract to make 5 will be 9 and 4. Then you have to divide by the common factor. That would be 3 here and 2 here. That makes, let's see, divide both of these by 3, divide both of these by 2. 2x minus 3, 3x plus 2, and do not ever forget that you have that big GCF up there at the beginning. That needs to come down here in the front. All right, one more. The first step, always look for GCF first. I'm looking across here to see what's common. It looks like there's an a squared common and a b, and that looks like about it. So we're going to divide all 3 terms by a squared b. That would give us c squared minus 10c plus 24. Oh, nice. And this turns out to be just a standard trinomial here. Nice. So bring the GCF down, a squared b, and factor the standard trinomial. All right, c squared is c times c. The first sign comes down. Multiply the signs together. So negative times positive makes negative. Same sign. Factors of 24 that add to make 10 are 6 and 4. And you're done.